David, both in tone and in substance, it's a dramatic change. The words matter. You need action to back those words up, but responsible leadership, finding common ground within our country first and foremost, and then with our allies around the world, and the sort of mindset associated with that. I think that's going to be a huge change. And then I think in substance, you're going to have a national, consistent national effort as it relates to the pandemic, which we desperately need. I think we'll shift from a lot of talk about infrastructure investment to actually or infrastructure renaissance. That would be a huge for New Jersey, which is smack in the middle of the Northeast corridor, with a lot of our residents that commute. That's a huge deal for us. Pandemic, we've been crushed. Obviously, that's a game changer. And I think thirdly, economic stimulus, smart, big stimulus at all levels of the economy. And I think we'll see all three of those.
So as you say, Governor, the tone matters, words matter, but you need the action too. Let's talk about those actions you just referred to. Let's start with COVID-19. It's spiking back up all around the country, all around the world, particularly in Europe, but specifically in New Jersey now. Last time I checked, you're up over 2,000 new cases a day.
Yep.
Big spike up. Do you have a sense of what's causing that? What needs to be done to remedy it?
Yeah, today, David, another day with over 2,000 positive cases. You're absolutely right. We've been in four digits for now weeks. And we, as you know, you and I talked way back when we were crushed. We crushed the curve, and now it's come back up. We think a lot of this is fatigue, including in private settings. I was on with Tony Fauci yesterday, picking his brain and getting his advice. And when I described our situation, he said it's basically that around the country. We'll probably take some steps tomorrow to tweak our parameters at the edges, but I will tell you, the big plea is to not let your hair down. That's exactly what this virus wants us to do, including when you're at your house with your own family. It's hard for us to find a huge set of outbreaks in schools or restaurants or gyms. It's really overwhelmingly private settings.
And last time I remember listening to you carefully, and it really progressed from northern New Jersey down through middle Jersey to the south. As I look at your heat map right now, it looks like that's repeating itself. You're having it up in Passaic and Essex and Union County, up sort of toward New York City. What
Yep.
can you do specifically there? Do you need a differentiated response depending on the county?
Well, what you're absolutely right, by the way. It is now those big metro New York counties that were exactly where it was at ground zero in March, April, and May. So we'll probably tweak parameters at the edges. We'll plead with folks to push back on fatigue, but then we also have hotspot teams that go into communities. We did that successfully in Lakewood, New Jersey, a few weeks ago. Our folks are in Newark right now. They'll be in Elizabeth. Those are both big communities in those metro New York counties. And so it's a combination of broad parameter resetting, and then scalpel, go in with the team, surge testing, tracing, enforcement, public service announcements, including in many languages.
Governor Murphy, President-elect Biden has really emphasized COVID-19 and the response to COVID-19 throughout. When they take office, when you have a Biden administration, how's that going to help you? I'll take an example in Passaic County or Essex County. What's it going to do for you?
Yeah, I think you're going to see a national response, David, and that will include we're already building an enormous stockpile. My guess is that'll be an extra boost, whether it's PPE or ventilators. Healthcare workers will be a challenge if we are in a national fight, which we are right now. In the spring, remember, we got healthcare workers coming into New Jersey from elsewhere because they weren't hit. That's unlikely to happen now. So we need a national lift there. We need that economic stimulus, which has an impact on public health. Plussing up more testing, getting that vaccine over the goal line, and then equitably and properly distributed. Those are some of the areas where you can make a big difference, not just at the national level, but that drives right down into our communities.
You've mentioned the economics a couple of times, Governor. Let's talk about that because you just had your bond rating. S&P took it down to BBB plus. You're having a tough time, but you've been very open about that from the beginning. You've increased your income tax on certain individuals and corporations. You also cut costs. But are we having a permanent shift in the economic business plan for New Jersey? Are you in a downward spiral that you're going to have to adjust to?
No, I actually don't think we are, David. I do think, though, we're at the bottom of a U. I wish it were the bottom of a V, but we're sort of bumping along. I inherited a state that had mismanaged its fiscal reality for literally decades, both sides of the aisle. So we've made an enormous amount of progress. I say with all due respect to S&P, I don't agree with their decision. The other rating agencies actually held us where that we are. We've got people coming into New Jersey. We've got a big innovation economy, which is continuing to grow. As I mentioned earlier, our location is second to none. So getting our infrastructure rebuilt has a huge positive economic impact. But there's no question, this pandemic has thrown every state a haymaker, and we're going to be digging out of this for a while.
Do you anticipate further tax increases, or you think you are where you need to get to?
Yeah, I don't actually. I think we've done what we're going to do. I do think we need, without question, and we're not alone, we need a big federal stimulus, including at the state level.
That's an issue not just for the President of the United States, but he needs Congress to come along with him. That has been an issue, particularly with Republicans in the Senate. Do you have reason for hope that they can get over that? Because as you know, the claim is you're really bailing out, is the term they use,
Yeah.
some states that have been profligate, particularly in their pension plans.
Yeah, I mean, as you won't be surprised, I take great exception to those statements because we actually were making an enormous amount of progress on those so-called legacy issues. We didn't need the federal government for that. We need the federal government to allow us to continue and to serve our people in this time of need, to keep frontline workers, firefighters, police, teachers, healthcare workers in their jobs. I am optimistic as the punchline. I think the speaker and Mnuchin got close. I think President Trump, at least before the election, and I hope still so, wants to see that done. I think Leader McConnell is somebody who has said, while not in favor of the level of stimulus that we need, has at least said some things in a positive direction of late. So I actually have quiet optimism because it's going to benefit everybody, red, blue, and everyone in between.
Governor, you also mentioned infrastructure. We had quite a few infrastructure weeks, as I recall, under President Trump. At the same time, President-elect Biden says he wants to do it. Let me be very specific. What about that rail tunnel under the Hudson River? Is that going to get done now? Because as I understand it, there's money sitting there waiting for it, isn't there?
Yeah. The answer is unequivocally yes. And in fairness to President Trump, he has greenlighted the so-called Portal North Bridge, which is the first step on that project, and we're grateful for that. But the bigger, far bigger pieces are those tunnels under the Hudson and further work on both the New Jersey and New York side. I'm highly optimistic that will get green lighted. I think President-elect Biden knows this project very well. He understands its significance for our economy, for job creation. So I'd say unequivocally that will happen.
Is it shovel ready? I mean, let's talk about a time horizon. When could you actually have people working on that project?
Yeah, literally, it is shovel ready, and you could envision putting a shovel in the ground first quarter next year.
And finally, let's talk about you. I always like to talk about your health. First of all, how is your health? But it strikes me that as you have the uptake in COVID-19, you have an underlying condition, having battled cancer just at the beginning of this pandemic. How has that changed the way you've approached this? And what have you learned that you could teach other people about?
First of all, thank you for asking, and I'm in good shape. I've gained a few pounds, and I got a bad hamstring, none of which has anything to do with my my cancer challenge. Listen, I'm a lot more virtual than I ever was before, or that I would ever like to be normally. I'm a big retail guy. I love hugging people and high fives and kisses and handshakes, and that just is not the order of the day. I wear masks. I only take them off when I'm talking to you or I'm with my immediate family. It's changing our habits. I was exposed to somebody who was positive a few weeks ago, and I didn't want to do it, but I took myself off the field and went completely virtual. I mean, those are the sorts of things. Not a lot of fun. There's a lot of fatigue around that, but there's also no question that's the right thing to do, and that's what we will continue to do.
It feels like the country's on the brink of a new regime, and we'll see where it takes us with President Biden. Are you concerned at all about setting expectations too high, that people will expect things to turn around right away? Does President Biden need to manage expectations a bit?
Yeah, I think he does. And I think the American people either get that or will get it. We've got big challenges. This is exactly the man to do it, exactly the administration for this moment in time. But it's not a light switch. Whether it's our domestic challenges, our foreign policy challenges, we're all in this together. It took us a while to get here. It's going to take us a while to get out of it, and whether that's the pandemic, economic recovery, you name it, but we will get there. We are America. We are far from perfect, but we are the greatest nation on earth, and this is exactly the right leader for this moment in time.